everyone, my name is Kiki. I'm from Meal Garden Professional, and I am here today with Amy F. White, and we are going to be talking about helping clients in living in a low-carb world. So this is the third part of our series. This is How You Wellpreneur, which is a series that I created that I host and connect with successful nutritional entrepreneurs using Meal Garden Professional so that they can share their insights for us all to learn, whether we're health coaches, nutritionists, trainers. So without further ado, I will introduce Amy. First of all, Amy, thank you so much for being here and for doing this. So Amy F. White is a board-certified holistic nutritionist and certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. She's an advocate and teacher of living a low-carb life, and so very trendy right now. So she picked the right thing. And she helps women kick sugar, reclaim their health, and flaunt their middle years as the best years of their life. Without further ado, Amy, would you mind sharing a little bit how you first got into this field, and maybe a little bit about what your sort of aha moment was that brought you here?
Sure. First, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. So I got involved with holistic nutrition 10 years ago. Because of a lot of people come into this community because of health issues, and I didn't. My issue was my daughter's health issue. So I got in this because she had a disrupted gut, disrupted digestion, and she kind of had it her entire life. But she was getting ready to go to college, and I just was like, we need to get this fixed. And so we did all the normal stuff, saw the docs, went and saw the gastroenterologist, who is the expert, and got no answers. Actually, we got an A-OK, she's fine, even after doing a scope, and the gastro doctor telling us that her small intestine was red and inflamed, but it was fine and not to worry about it. That was it. That's all we got. Yeah. So we had to figure it out. So anyway, somebody did direct me to a nutritionist at the time. I had no idea what that was. And so we started there, and that's what kind of, and we did heal my daughter's gut. The nutritionist didn't do much. She basically told us to cut gluten, which 10 years ago was kind of like, nowadays pretty run of the mill. But it did the trick. It kind of got her going, and her diet has evolved over the years. And so she knows now exactly what she needs to do to have a really healthy body and feel good. But that's where I started, because I watched what happened to my daughter when she was getting well, but it happened so rapidly that I just was like, oh my God, food is magic. How did I not know this? Yeah. And then I just couldn't get enough. And so I said to my husband, I'm like, I have to know everything. So I have to go to school for this. And so that's how that started.
Oh, amazing. And then, so how did, and so now you focus specifically, in the low carb world. And so how did you kind of find your niche? Because a lot of professionals actually that start using Meal Garden have just graduated their nutrition school, and they always, they're saying to me, oh, I still need to, figure out my brand and figure out which market I'm serving. So how did you navigate that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. And I am just recently finally grasping this whole idea of a niche. Because I went through nutrition school. I love to fix guts. And what happens in your gut? You've got autoimmune conditions. You've got bacterial overgrowth. You have yeast overgrowth. You have IBS. You have diverticulitis. There's a host of things, right? So I, of course, wanted to do it all. And it is exhausting, because every time you get a new client, you have to then go, oh, right, I haven't done autoimmune thyroiditis for a while. I've been doing SIBO. So I got to go read back and do all that work. And it's exhausting. So it's interesting, because when my daughter's gut was getting healed, I watched what happened to her. And at this point, I was in my 40s. I'm now in my 50s. And I had, my entire life, I've had a very obedient body, and I've never had food intolerances. I've, nothing like that. I've been fine. But yet I hit my 40s and I started to gain weight. but I was doing everything right. I also exercised like crazy. I was doing everything right. I had changed nothing, but I was gaining weight. And so for me, I'm like, what is happening? So then I saw what food did to my daughter, and I thought, that's interesting. And so I sort of adjusted my diet, and all of a sudden was able to totally control my weight, easily manage my weight. But the other thing that happened was I felt good. I didn't have gut issues. However, evidently I did have gut issues. Regular gas and bloating, IBS symptoms, heartburn, brain fog, some aches and pains. And I'm actually a pretty positive person, but for me, I was probably a little on the depressed side. Though that all went away when I changed my diet. So anyway, I'm sorry. So back to my niche. So I am now into women my age, who are dealing with kind of what I went through. And I'm like, no, you can take back control. You can do it. I'm an example. So what happens, I heard this term and I love it. And I wish it was mine, called metabolic debt.
Oh, I haven't heard this term. Tell me.
Isn't that great?
Oh,
I love it. So, and that's what I look at. I'm like, your body is so amazing, and it is going to do everything that it can do to keep you in balance. And it works really hard behind the scenes. So we're typically, mostly feeling well. We exercise, we sleep okay. And we're dealing with a lot of those common issues: gas, bloating, heartburn, headaches, migraines. Common, not normal, but we think they're normal. And
I was going to say that when you were saying about like feeling brain fog, a lot of people probably don't even notice that they have them because it's like the norm, which is really tragic. And so, yeah, anyway.
Right. And it's such a slow, steady decline that you don't notice it. And that's what happened to me. I didn't know until you have that moment where all of a sudden you go, wait a second, I feel good. Oh, this is what good feels like. You have to remember. And then once you feel good, you're like, I want to be there, not there. So I adjusted my diet, and our whole family went gluten-free because it's just easier to do that. And then with gluten-free, we actually ended up going totally grain-free and sugar-free. So that's how it's evolved over the last 10 years. And I meet women who are entering their 40s, maybe now in their 50s, even in their 60s, and they have just sort of lost themselves. They look at their body and they think, this isn't my body. I'm not sure how this happened. I feel lousy. I'm tired. I don't sleep well. I can't even string, 10 words together. Lots of IBS. Everybody has IBS. But weight loss is not my favorite thing, but that is everyone's chief complaint. That's what they're worried about, but it's all these other things that are sort of weight loss. Excess weight is a symptom.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, you have to get healthy, and then your weight will fall in line because your body wants to perform optimally, and carrying excess weight is not going to allow you to be optimal. So anyway, back to metabolic debt. When you get into your 40s, this is your body basically going, oh my God, I just can't do it anymore. And everything that's been going on behind everything that's been going on behind the scenes is now catching up with you, and it's becoming more obvious. So, so I'm a low carb advocate because I see it work with people that have hit that sort of metabolic debt limit where you have to change it up. You cannot keep doing what you were doing, or you will continue to have the same results. And so I always talk about my spectrum of health because I also work in a doctor's office, so I see a variety of patients. So I have my super, sick kind of type 2 diabetics over here, and then I have my paleo, lean, healthy athletes over here. So over here on my diabetic side, I actually will go full on keto with them, so very low carb. And then down here on the paleo, or on the healthy side, I've got my paleo diet, and everywhere in between is low carb. Mm-hmm. So ideally, you want to take the person that's over here doing keto and get them to a place where they're healthy and feeling wonderful, and maybe get them back to a paleo diet. So it's not like I'm going, you have to be low carb for the rest of your life, or whatever. It just really depends on the person and then their tolerance to certain things. But jump starting them by cleaning out the sugars, that gets them feeling good. sleeping well, having constant energy, aches and pains go away, migraines, headaches go away, that's getting them to good. So that gets them to where they feel good. And then they're like, okay, now how do I continue to do this? Yeah. And so for a lot of people, they want to stick within that low carb lifestyle for a while until they hit their goals. And then they can start to reintroduce and start to do their own experiments to see what's food, what's going to work for them and what's not going to work for them. And after working with me, they know they have markers and tools to manage that stuff, and they know what to watch for and that kind of stuff.
And I love how honest you are when it comes to when you're finding your niche. A lot of professionals will just be like, oh, I want to help everyone. But you made it completely blatant in terms of it's actually just inefficient to help everyone, because it's a lot of work on the side of the professional, because as you said, you kind of have to keep reviewing your notes. But if you think about it in terms of, okay, if you can really master a niche, yes, you'll be more approachable by people. You will be the go-to expert. You can market yourself better, but also it makes your job easier, really, because then you can know absolutely everything there is to know about this particular target demographic, which it sounds like you've been doing. I also really like how you mentioned that, it's not low carb necessarily forever or very low carb. The goal is to not necessarily ever be high carb, but to be able to incorporate, sweet potatoes and those healthy complex carbs, I assume. Now, because low carb is so trendy still, it's been for a while.
Because it works.
Right. But what are because now it's trendy, there's also the articles that are like, be careful, low carb is going to kill you kind of thing, on the other side of things. So what are the, for professionals that maybe aren't in the low carb space, where their clients are coming to them asking for more low carb options, and they're hesitant because they don't know if it's just oh, is this just a trend, or should I do it? What caution should they be aware of, on the whole?
Well, I think first of all, get on PubMed and start looking up studies. So the thing that's interesting is the ketogenic diet and low carb diet actually have a lot of scientific information behind them. So they're not you can find, there's a lot of information. So one of the other things about a niche that's nice is you can not only, but basically you can keep up with the literature and the studies. So you can also keep up with all the new information too, which is so great. So I definitely try to compile all the studies that I find so that I have them in a place. So if any of my clients are like, I need to read more, I need to really understand, I'm like, here you go, dig in, here's a ton of studies. So I follow researchers, I follow insulin researchers, I follow protein researchers, I follow
Are there any particular really great resources for beginners that want to incorporate some more low carb materials?
Ideas. Well, I would say read Gary Taubes, read Nina Teicholz, so her book, The Big Fat Lie. Okay. Read Gary Taubes, because I'm trying to think, who's the other one? Protein Power by Dr. Eads. That's another good one. You have to understand that carbohydrates are not an essential nutrient for human health. Mm-hmm. I actually have a article study that I pulled up for something else, and I don't have it open, but it lists all the essential nutrients for human health. And those would be your amino acids, your vitamins, your minerals, water, electrolytes. But neither carbohydrates nor sugars are listed as essential for human health. Oh, essential fatty acids were also on that list. Yeah. So people, and I say this too, if you run on sugar, then you will believe that sugar is your primary and most essential fuel. You will believe that carbohydrates are essential for health. The problem, or the trick is, you do not need to be running on sugar. And I would argue that if you want to function optimally, you shouldn't be running on sugar. Mm-hmm. You should be running on fat.
Doctor, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Dr. McCullough, the fat is fuel, right?
Yes. You need to be, fat is fuel. So not only is fat and more efficient fuel, so think of sugar as fleeting. It's like kindling on a fire. You burn through it very quickly, and it's dirty. So think of smoke. So smoke in this case would be free radicals that bang around and cause a lot of cellular damage. So then you've got your fat, which is like the giant logs that you put on the fire that keep the fire going steadily all night. And they don't have a lot of smoke. They don't create the free radicals that sugar does. And so they aren't causing that cellular damage. But with you also, fat's more efficient. So you're actually getting, I think it was 25% more energy from a fat burn than a sugar burn. So with fat, what happens is you have this, like I was saying, your energy goes up because you have this constant fuel. And so you're never sort of doing these dips and peaks because you're not burning through the sugar and then requiring a lot more sugar to kind of zap you back up, which would be that standard, blood sugar roller coaster that most people live on.
Yeah.
So now the next person's going to say, but my brain has to have sugar. My brain can't burn fat. And so that is true, but partial. So no, your brain cannot burn fatty acids. They cannot pass the blood-brain barrier. So what does your body do? Your body converts some of those fatty acids into ketones. The ketones then feed the brain, and the brain loves ketones. This is when all of a sudden you start going, whoa, I'm like smart again. You just feel like, wow. So my husband and I live, again, not because you have to, but I do tend to sort of live in ketosis. Part of me wants those ketones for brain fuel because I do have a history of cancer and Alzheimer's and dementia in my family. So those are things that I want to avoid as I age. So yes, I want my brain to be running as efficiently and cleanly as it possibly can. So for me, ketones make sense as a substrate, a fuel substrate that I can kind of filter in and around. So I'm not in ketosis all the time, but I definitely have ketones that that my brain is using on a regular basis.
And as you've mentioned, it works for you and your family. How do you onboard when you onboard a new client that, a super high fat, very low carb diet might not work for them, or there are people that they do better on monounsaturated fats versus saturated. So talk to me a little bit about, I guess, the general process of when you bring in a client and that sort of almost, if there's like a testing process or
the first
thing.
Right. Well, the first step is what's their chief complaint? So what are they looking for? Again, the people that tend to come to me are going to be somewhere between 50 and 70, typically 45 to 70. And they're trying to lose weight, or they're pre-diabetic, or they've just been recently diagnosed as type 2 diabetes. It's crazy how common that is. That's my dog. Sorry. And so I then want to see a diet journal. So what's going on? So they have to fill out my intake form, which is huge. It's like 26 pages. It's like ridiculous. And I get all their supplements, medications, family history. So this is where the functional medicine stuff comes in. So I use functional medicine frameworks to do their health timeline, to see everything that's happened in their life, when sort of things popped up. Then I make what's called a functional nutrition matrix, which is 8 categories of different physiological areas of function. And I use the timeline and I fill in the matrix to see where they're building up. Is it detoxification? It's all gut always. But then is there stuff with detoxification? Is there stuff with hormones? Is there stuff with their immune process? So you sort of see. And then we kind of work from there. But typically, because weight loss is their primary goal, I want to get sugar out of their diet. So just by taking sugar out of their diet is going to cause them to be lower carb. So the other thing people have to understand is sugar isn't Snickers bars and ice cream. I mean, it is, but that's obvious. Sugar is oatmeal, bananas, pasta, bread, crackers, cookies, muffins, that's sugar. So when I kind of explain that to people, they're a little reluctant, but then they're like, I'm here because I need to do something. So they're willing to do this. But I don't want them to go, I never take anybody like deep fast because it's uncomfortable and then you want to quit. So I like to kind of do steps. So first, let's take out the obvious sugars. Easy. Soda, liquid calories. And then we'll start to maybe stop with the pasta or the plates of rice or the big bowl of oatmeal with sliced bananas and blueberries and whatever in the morning. Oh my God. So we'll switch over a meal. So we'll switch breakfast over. Let's switch breakfast to bacon and eggs, or quiche or something, a crustless quiche. So you start there. And then they actually start to feel better. And then they actually have more energy. And then they're kind of like, okay, what else can I do?
That was going to be my next question, because do you find that clients, there's like a dip right away and they almost like kind of feel crap, and you have to coach them like at that beginning stage because it sucks at the beginning? And so is there something that you say that, like bear with me for the first 3 weeks or whatever, or do you find that it is generally a sore and maybe diminishing returns?
There's a couple ways you can hit it. So there's the low carb flu, which is very real.
Yeah.
But you can avoid the low carb flu. So first of all, go a little more slowly. So don't just go from like 300 carbohydrates, grams of carbohydrates, which is pretty typical for an American eating well, by the way, down to like 30 carbohydrates. Just be like, all right, so we're going to bring it down to none of that. We're going to get rid of, we're trying to get rid of processed foods. That's my first step. So that brings them closer to 100 carbs a day, 150. Then you kind of drop it down to 75 carbs a day, maybe, because we're going to now start with the bread or the cereal or whatever. And then I sort of stair step them down, and then we, eventually getting them to about 30 carbs for the day, or less. But the other thing is electrolytes. So as soon as you take processed foods out of your diet, you lose salt and minerals. And people don't know to balance their electrolytes. And that is really the only thing you have to do to avoid the low carb flu. So lots of salt.
Okay. And
so I always say pickles and olives and, pardon me?
And are you an advocate for salt water? I was talking to someone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I am.
And you were going to say other things. So pickles.
I was going to say in the afternoon, I always encourage people to do pickles and olives for a snack. So lots of salt. But I'm a big fan of salty water, especially if you're living that kind of low carb, no processed foods lifestyle. But the other thing that's funny about salt water is if you really need it, if your electrolytes are out of balance, it'll taste delicious. You'll be like, oh, that's the best thing I've ever had. But as your electrolytes balance and you're actually pretty good, you'll feel like, too salty. Yeah. Like your body gives you cues. Yeah.
Salt water is amazing. I was actually just listening to a webinar the other day, and it was a biohacker, and he was saying, honestly, the best hack for regulating your circadian rhythms is actually to have salt water first thing in the morning. And it'll, balance your melatonin levels and like help with the cortisol and like all that jazz. So yeah, salt water.
And look up, so tell everybody who's listening, Google Soleil water. It's spelled SOLE.
Oh.
So you make that in a jar and you leave it on your counter, and it's saturated salt water. And then you can use that, just a teaspoon in an 8-ounce glass, or more or less to your taste, in an 8-ounce glass or in your water bottle for the day. And it's just sort of a homemade like electrolyte mix that you can now add to your water. Oh. And yeah, so and if you're working out, having salty water in your bottle is like magic.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, we only have about 7 minutes left. So I do want to get into more specifically kind of meal planning and whether it's the type of foods. I mean, you were mentioning low carb, but can that be done like in the long term and forever? I mean, it sounds like you have. What's your approach when it comes to specifically meal planning for clients in the short term, but then in the long term as well?
Right. So that's why meal planning is so key for me, because when you look at people and tell them maybe what they aren't going to be eating, they literally panic. Like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to eat. So I never, ever want to leave people in that position where they're like, well, I know what I'm not supposed to eat, but now I have nothing to eat. So the meal planning is brilliant, because I can go, okay, here we go. Here's going to be the week. Here's what we're looking at for a week of meals. And I try to make the breakfast, lunch, dinners kind of balanced. So if there's something for breakfast that they don't like, I'm like, just switch it out for Tuesday's breakfast then, whatever, it's fine. But the other reason I think meal planning is so important is because, again, my demographic, my client, undereat. So they're not overeating. I actually, when I look at their meal plan or with their diet journal, I'm like, oh my God, you're eating 1,000 calories a day, so they're under eating. So I also want to make sure they're eating enough, because one of the big things when you're burning fat as a fuel is you actually end up eating less. because you just aren't hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So I need them to make
sure. You don't
sure
have to eat as much volume. I remember when I ate very keto, you're not eating like bountifuls of food because
right.
Avocado can fill you up.
Right. Well, the thing is, you're getting the nutrients you need. So I say you're not feeding your stomach, you're feeding all the cells in your body. And if you feed it nutrient-dense food, they're like, we're done. Yep. Go about your business. We'll talk to you later. And so you don't start just pounding, food. If you're trying to get those nutrients through potato chips, you're going to pound bags of potato chips because your cells are going to be like, well, bring it. We're not done. So you end up eating less. So it's really important for them to make sure they're getting food. So I really want them to like follow the plan, and they're afraid of food. Like I'll be like, you're having bacon and eggs for lunch or for breakfast. You're going to have salad with grilled chicken for lunch. And then we're having, I don't know, shepherd's pie for dinner. And they'll be like, that's a lot of food. And I'm like, it is and it isn't, So that's the meal planning is just so important. And I also try to teach them how to, using the meal plan, how to cook in bulk. Yeah. So cook a ton because I want it in the refrigerator. So if you do feel like you need something, you go in there and it's there, it's ready. You have extra hamburgers made, it's all waiting. So I think that meal plan is just, for a long time I tried to avoid meal planning because it's a really intensive thing to do. And that's why I like Meal Garden, because it actually made it really easy for me to add my recipes because I'm a total control freak. So I don't take advantage yet too much of the Meal Garden database. I'm still kind of building my own.
Oh, so you do your own recipes. Okay.
I do.
No. Okay. Yeah. Because there are some people that are like, oh my God, please tell me that that I do not have to do my own recipes. And then there are other people that are like, please tell me I don't have to use your recipes. So it's always like one or the other. So I'm doing both. So I'm putting most of mine in, but then I bounce in to see what, like I can go in the search bar and I can go, I want a meal that's less than 10 carbs. Yeah. And it'll pop them up. And then I'll look and see, oh, this one would work for me. I like it. That one works. So because it's my own issue. I'm a total control freak. So I'm starting to loosen up a little bit. But it makes it so easy to add my own recipes. Or even add recipes that I love from somebody else, because then, the credit's at the bottom. I don't have to worry about, did I, not say who that was from. And, but it's just, and it's pretty and it's easy and they get their grocery list. And so it's an important tool for getting them going. I mean, my program's usually 12 weeks and 3 months is long enough to sort of, for them to really see differences. Yeah. I mean, in blood chemistry, you see differences in 12 weeks. Yeah. So, and at that point, hopefully they've gotten the rhythm of the meal plan and the rhythm of what meals should look like what they should be having. So I want them to be able to do it themselves. Yeah. And with your demographic, so you mentioned, it's like 45 plus, like 50 plus. Do you find that they work better with kind of giving them more structured meal plans, or giving them more just like recipes and then for them to build themselves? Or is it across the board?
It's so funny. I always give recipes. I like to start with an actual meal plan.
Okay.
It's a little frustrating because I do put the work in and then I don't know that they actually follow it. Yeah. They'll take this or that. But at the same time, for me, I'd much, for those, there are those people that do want the meal plan. So I just prefer to give them the meal plan. And then if they want to just, grab this recipe or that recipe, that's fine too. But at least I know there is the process. I'm actually starting my sort of proprietary group program. I'm very excited, in another month. And that's going to be, I think I'm going to be a little bit stricter with the meal plan because everybody's going to be doing the same thing. So everybody in the group is going to have the same meal plan. So I think as a group, it'll be more fun to sort of follow it and then discuss it, see what worked, what didn't work, what people liked,
And community, that's another helpful component, especially when you're making behavioral changes. So it's great to hear that, you're fostering that in the group. So we are just basically out of time. If there's one last thing that you would say to, nutrition professionals or health coaches that are hesitant to exploring, the low carb world with their clients, what would you say to them? What's your
I would
final
say,
advice for them?
yeah, well, I would say just remove processed foods.
Mhm.
And then remember, it's not no carb.
Mhm.
Vegetables and fruits are carbohydrates. You're getting carbohydrates from nuts and seeds. You're getting, so it's not no carb. You're getting carbohydrates, but you're not getting so many that you're flooding the body and creating this sugar insult. So we want our body, we just want to give our bodies the running room they need to do all the work and healing that they can do on their own. So again, it's not no carb. And if you're focusing on proteins, healthy fats, non-starchy vegetables, low sugar fruits, nuts and seeds, how is that bad? It's not,
Exactly.
Don't be
Across
afraid.
the board, no thought leaders or any nutrition experts say, oh, veggies are bad. Like there are certain
Right.
parallels that all of them agree on. And so
Right.
you're hitting the nail on the head there.
Right.
Now, as well, just last thing, where can people get in touch with you? How can they find you and connect?
So my website is called thesimplicityofwellness.com.
Perfect.
They can find me there. That's probably the easiest place to locate me. I'm on Instagram. I think I'm Simply Well Amy. I'm on Pinterest. I have a huge Pinterest account if you want recipes, I have recipes.
Awesome.
And so I think I'm Amy White Nutritionist on Pinterest. And that's fairly new for me. I just started that this spring, but it's got if you want low carb bread recipes, I've got those. You can find anything.
It's super. Yeah. And I'll include all of those links when I post this as well.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Amy. It's been a real pleasure. And I've definitely learned a lot. So thanks again.
It's my pleasure. All right. Well, have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.